stay running. That's as much as it'll rev up. Seems like it'll idle okay. It just won't rev up. So I think that what that's telling me is the main jet inside the carburetor is plugged. Because if it's idling, the slow speed circuits inside the carburetor are still functioning. So I suspect the main jet. If I come over here and push the choke on manually, revs up, runs good. But it's definitely starving for gas. So let's take this little carburetor off of here and see what we find. It's one of these piece of crap Kawasaki FC150Vs. And unfortunately, Deere, instead of using Briggs and Stratton engines, they've switched over to these crappy Kawasaki's. Shame on you, Deere. Yeah, so we have a carburetor problem with this unit here. Let's go ahead and get into it. I think the best route would be to take off the wheel just so you have some more room. Let's see. And there's a set screw you have to remove there. Hopefully it won't be locked in place. I hate using crescent wrenches. They always seem to strip everything. Yeah, that wasn't too bad. Then this little collar comes off, and hopefully we should be able to take the wheel off now. Yep. Okay, that gives us much better access to get into this carburetor here. Since it's a Kawasaki engine, it's probably I'm guessing a 10mm. I'm always wrong. Yeah, that'll work. Loosen these up. Do need to take off the fuel line here, so let's go ahead and turn off the gas. So there's the wiggle these. Helps get them off sometimes. You'll have a little bit of gas that comes out. You'll have a lot of gas that comes out if you forget to turn off the fuel valve. Okay. Don't lose anything. Okay. So yeah, this piece just pulls down. And I loosen that. Looks like that comes off. And that's a breather hose attached to it. I'll just move that aside. Yeah, so you have two linkages. If you can see them here, it's your choke and your throttle. And basically you're going to want to remove both of them by rotating the carburetor. Can be kind of tricky. I'm going to get this thing out of my way. Yeah, so that's the only thing holding the carburetor on are these linkages. It looks like if I rotate the carburetor, let's see what's going to be best. I think what I'm going to do, so to get it off the linkages, what I'm going to do is just loosen this bracket here a little bit. So I just loosened up this bolt and this bolt, and now this bracket is quite loose. It's going to probably help me, yeah, take off the carburetor. See, it looks like I'm going to take the, you also have a spring on here you want to be careful of. Careful not to disconnect anything over here. Oh, it's a tight fit. It's a tight fit. I think I'm going to take this bracket off. That might be good enough. Yeah, see, now I can rotate the carburetor. Okay, I'm just going to rotate the carburetor enough to where I can pull off the choke linkage first, and then that makes it easy to pull it off the throttle linkage. Once you have one off, it's easier to get the other one off. Now there's the spring. Be careful not to let it go flying anywhere. Okay, there's our carburetor. So here's your carburetor. Let's start by taking the float bowl off. It's always a good place to start. The way this one was running makes me think that the main jet is plugged. So let's just go ahead and inspect that first. Yeah, so the main jet is down in that hole, and it sure enough looks plugged to me. So we're going to have to get a real narrow screwdriver to get that out. So when you go to take out a main jet like this, I don't know if you can see it, but it's basically a brass jet way down in there, and it's very easy to strip. And if you strip it, you're going to be hating life. So make sure you get it right the first time. This is the screwdriver I use. It's a pretty long, skinny one. It works pretty good for some of these. Make sure you have a good grip. Just ease it out if you can. We got lucky on that one. Looks like it's coming out pretty easily. You can go ahead and take the float bowl off too. Looks like this pin is kind of stuck. So you can see the main jet coming out there now. So this is what is plugged, the main jet. If my camera was good enough, you'd be able to tell that you couldn't see through that hole. So that little hole is plugged up in there. Don't know if you can see it. A lot of these carburetors have an emulsion tube or a nozzle that needs to come out too. Sometimes you have to stick a screwdriver down in. Can you see it down in there, the brass little tube poking up? I use the same screwdriver. Push down on it, poke it out. There it is. You can see this thing's pretty gummed up too, so it needs to be cleaned up and all the little tiny holes need to be poked out. So if your float pin is stuck like this one, don't just beat on it because you'll break the little tabs. What I do is I just get a set of pliers, pair of pliers, and wiggle it. You can usually break it loose that way without damaging anything. There's your float and your cute little float needle. It's always a good idea to replace the float needle there. For now, I'm just going to reuse this one. You can see the inside of the carburetor is pretty clean, so that's always good to see. We'll have to make sure to clean down into that hole with some pipe cleaners. Let's go ahead and take out the slow jet here. You also need to clear out this jet. You look, there's teeny tiny holes in this thing that need to be cleared out. One in the end, some on the side. And you'll want to confirm that the hole down in there is all cleared out. Some carburetors have a very, very tiny hole down in there that you have to usually poke free. And this is what I use right here, just some wire to poke out all these. Oh yeah, you can definitely see that that's plugged up now that it's dried out. So you'll want to clean all that out. See, there's a lot of corrosion on it too. I'll get a toothbrush and brush all that off so it's spotless. Same with this. I think for now I'm just going to soak it. Spend some time cleaning out all these holes. Make sure they're all clear. Don't want to stick anything hard in that hole where the needle seat sits. I usually use a Q-tip there because if you scratch it, it won't seal properly. So I usually make sure not to poke anything hard down in that hole, which is your float needle hole, because if you scratch it down in there, it'll never seal again. So just doing my best to clean out all the little areas, although this carburetor is pretty clean. But it was definitely plugged. You usually don't have to mess with the mixture screw there. That area doesn't get plugged up very easily, in my experience. You do have holes down in there you want to clear out. I think I can still reuse these gaskets. If you want to replace them, go right ahead. This little doohickey goes on there. Kind of hard to do this and have a good camera angle. I think that worked. If your carburetor is really dirty, you might have to clean the little teeny tiny holes on the inside of the carburetor. I make my wire like this. I don't even know if you can see them, but they're on this side. Just go down in there and make sure that those holes are clear. Usually you don't have to worry about that. There's usually 2 or 3 holes. So as you can see, I have everything spotless now. I don't know if you can see through it now, but I unplugged the main jet as well as the pilot jet. You want to make sure and get this hole down in the end. It's pretty small. Let's start going back together here. Not too tight, you can break it. It's only made out of brass. And your emulsion tube, or your pickup tube, whatever you want to call it, goes in this way. Your main jet goes back on like that. And same thing with this, don't tighten it too much because you can strip it out and then you'll be hating life. Who wants to hate life? Alright, good and snug. Here we go. Yeah. Nice and clean. I don't think it matters which way you put the float bowl on, as long as you put it on straight. Look at that. We're done. Time to put this back on the machine. Let's go ahead and put the throttle linkage and spring on first. I'm going to put the spring on first. Just like that. And rotate the carburetor. Boom. We're on that one. And you can see we have to rotate it this way to get it onto this choke one. But we can do that. And then we just rotate it. Look at that. Our linkages are on. We can put this bracket back into place. Okay. Yeah, you see these little pegs right here, what go into the holes there. And then, yeah, jam it up into there. That seemed to work all right. Breather tube just goes back on there. Looks like I forgot to put this bracket on, but we can get it on later. Tighten it up evenly on both sides, just till it's snug, and then you can cinch it down. Not too tight, just tight enough to crunch all these gaskets. Sometimes you can knock your linkages off this side, just make sure they're all in place. Hook up the fuel line. Okay, let's check out this air filter. I don't think I've even looked at this air filter yet. That's not too bad. It's usable. So let's use it. That's my motto. If it's usable, let's use it. So I'll turn the gas back on up here and we'll watch for leaks. If it leaks, probably going to have to replace that float valve, float needle. I'll put it over here and you guys can watch for leaks for me for a few minutes. We good? No leaks. Alright. Let's get the wheel back on. Okay, time to test this baby out. Moment of truth, boys. This is what separates the men from the boys. Boys. Let it warm up and then we'll rev it up.